Hey everyone, it's Caleb with InklingsFiction.com again, and today I'm getting to you guys with the fourth part of the Get Her Done series. As you can see right here, I have a new little illustration. It's of a light bulb. I know you guys probably couldn't tell. I'm not too great on doing art on this. Not my thing. But anywho's, this edition is on inspirations everywhere. So something about writing a book is you need to be inspired to write your book, and inspiration can quickly run out. So what do I mean by that? I mean, you can be in the middle of writing, you can be in the middle of an awesome action scene, and then you get to the end of the scene and you're like, oh, what do I do now? I can't end the book here, but what do I do? I think I took care of everything. So that's something that's a big problem for a lot of people is you just hit a wall, and some people call it writer's block. Some people are just like, I need to brainstorm a little bit. I need to come up with something. So that's where today's little Get Her Done episode is taking care of you guys, because it's about inspiration being everywhere. So what do I mean by that? I mean that if you guys listen to the first part of this thing about having a notepad and being ready to write down whatever ideas come to mind, you're able to write down whatever inspiration you end up getting. And that opens up the entire world to you to have as your inspiration for your writing. And at the end of the day, what you want inspiring your writing is the real world, because otherwise your writing isn't very realistic, So for me, I like to just be open to all these things. And just this past week, actually, I was in church. I was, following along with the pastor in the Bible, and he gets to this one part, and I'm nodding, following along. He starts telling a story, and I just look down at the Bible, and I was just not even really thinking too hard. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking at one of the passages, and I'm like, ooh, that'd make a great part for my next book, or that'd be a great premise for my next book. I mean, there are entire days that I just look at some things, I'm like, well, now I just have to write 3 more books, because that idea right there just opened up an entire new can of beans, can of worms. What was that? That's the saying, can of worms. But that's just one of the ways you can get inspiration is, say, go to church. Or you can be walking down the aisle at a grocery store and go through the magazines, and all of a sudden you see one of the magazine covers, hopefully one of the appropriate ones, and you'll see something, and it's like a house in the middle of the woods, and you're like, ooh, I feel like my character so-and-so would love to live in a cabin in the woods like that. What if I tied that into the next part? What if I had it so these characters, after this action scene, let's say Johnny got shot and needs to recover, you can have Johnny and the rest of the good guys go to, let's say, Billy's cabin in the woods, and then there they nurse everyone back to health, everyone gets happy again, and it's great. And then maybe you can have your story end there, maybe you can have it lead into the next event. It really depends, and of course you can have a cliffhanger happen while you're there. Something like that, you could just look at something in the real world, and it'll eventually get your writer juices going, and you'll come up with something new. Another thing that you guys can do to get your ideas flowing, because again, inspiration is everywhere. You got your little light bulb going on all the time. You can be watching movies or playing games or even reading stories in your genre or not in your genre. And you'll have ideas pop into your head. Like for me, I actually have hopped onto the interweb, and looked up science fiction stories on the internet, just because sometimes you want to read just a little flash fiction thing to get an idea going. And I start reading it, I'm like, ooh, I could hijack that idea. I don't like that part there, so I'm going to change that and this and this and this and this. And you just take one sentence out of a flash fiction sometimes, and you can turn it into 5 books because you thought of it so much bigger. One instance of this is something I actually just learned about the other day. So you guys know J.R. Tolkien, R.R. Tolkien. So he sort of wrote The Lord of the Rings. It's sort of an important book. I mean, it's sort of popular, And something that I just found out about the other day was, so he has trees that come to life. And evidently he was reading another author's work. I can't remember who the other author was, but they had trees that came to life, but it wasn't actually coming to life. And he was like, oh, that's dumb. You shouldn't say they come to life if they don't come to life. So in his books, Lord of the Rings, they have trees that actually are living critters and actually do stuff because they really do come to life. And he, from what I read about this part, he actually wrote Lord of the Rings with that in mind. He wanted to have trees that came to life. And for you guys, you can be reading something, find something you don't like in another author's book, and you can change it to what you do like. And again, you just had inspiration from somewhere. And again, inspiration is everywhere. So like, you can just go about your daily life. You can go about your normal reading, your normal TV watching, your normal video games, your normal anything. Even like going on, say Google. For me, my Google gives me random articles that they recommend I read. Sometimes I scroll through those just to see what I want to read. And sometimes I find something like, ooh, that'd be an interesting premise for a book. Like sometimes I get like little notifications about like Nazi bunkers because I like World War II history and just history in general. And it's like, all right, I like that concept about that bunker. That's really cool. And what if I had it so this? And what if, and you know, you could just expand on ideas from everything that you see. You can see like in back to the history thing, you could see like a weapon that they made in some war and they haven't done it again. But you're like, you know, like for me, I write science fiction. It's like, you know, you could change that weapon right there and make it like something sci-fi, and imagine how cool it would be if you did this. And again, you just let your mind go with it, and you basically just let your mind wander, and you play with every single idea you can, because that's inspiration for your book. You're daydreaming, but you're also working because you're a writer. You are supposed to make up stuff as you go. So guys, always be sure to let your mind wander, always be sure to get your inspiration, and always be sure to write it down, because at some point you will hit a roadblock and you're not going to be sure of where to go. But if you keep track of all the ideas that you come up with through the course of your life, you can like just go to a little sheet of all these awesome ideas and be like, okay, what can I come up with? You just scroll, and you're like, ooh, that idea I came up with on January 3rd, you know, I'm going to steal that one and put it in here. And then this one from September 2nd, I'm going to steal that one and put it in here, you know. And from there, you get to piece together events in your story that you wouldn't have come up with otherwise if you hadn't written it all down prior. And you can keep your story going, you can keep your writing going, and when you don't have to brainstorm stuff, you can stay in the writing rhythm. And when I find what I find is when I'm really in the rhythm, I cannot stop, or else when I stop, I am going to lose it entirely. I'm not going to be able to write as fast until I get back into the rhythm, and that can take a long time. So I like to have a bunch of ideas floating around in my head so that I can just write, you know? So that is something that I highly recommend you guys do, is just know that there's inspiration everywhere you go. Keep track of everything you can. As I said in video 1 with the notepad, keep a notepad so you can keep track of everything. Try to put it in a Word doc. Try to rewrite everything a couple times just so you can expand on ideas. As you think about them, think about how you can apply them to your story or your universe or anything like that. Just be sure to keep your mind open to all the inspiration that's out there. So, write on, and God bless everyone.